Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan and thank you for joining us for our Thursday weather update for August the 17th. Well, this weekend, as you know, the headline is we've got rain and a cold front on the way and then a low pressure zone. Sounds a bit depressing if you're sick of the rain and the gloomy weather, but here's the good news. Next week, there's a lot of high pressure on the way, which means longer dry spells, lighter winds, and of course, drier weather. So we'll try and break it down for you. There's a lot to go on, or a lot going on over the next couple of days as we've got this cold front coming in, and it starts with Australia getting that change first. Lower pressure is in the darker shading, so you can see Australia, which has been smothered in high pressure lately, has got this lower air pressure zone coming up and around as a result of that colder southerly change it's about to move through. So Australia gets that cold blast over the next couple of days, windy and wet and showery, and then it moves over to New Zealand this weekend as what we call an active cold front. That means it's got a risk of thunderstorms and hail as it comes on through on Saturday, and then on Sunday it will form into a low pressure zone north of New Zealand and then moves away on Monday. Yesterday's update showed Monday looking wet. Today's update doesn't look as bad. And next week for New Zealand, certainly there's a lot more high pressure on the way, which is what we were talking about in our Climate Watch update a few weeks ago. So let's try and make sense of it at the moment. Right, rainfall-wise coming through for the next 3 days. Most of it is over here on the west coast and around Nelson, where you're getting up to 80 or 90 millimetres over the next 3 days. That's enough to cause slips around the Nelson region in particular. Also a bit of rain around Taranaki, probably about 50, 60, 70 millimetres for you there. And then around the rest of the North Island in that red, anywhere from 30 to about 45 or 50 millimetres. So it's annoying more than problematic for most places, especially if the ground's already a bit muddy with water. And the eastern side, the driest, we get a daily complaint about the key. And as I always say, what's the colour next to it? If you see blue next to green, it's the bottom of the scale. And once you start doing that, you don't get confused anymore. Over in Australia, rainfall, not much for the whole western side and the whole upper side. I mean, I don't even know, it's not even a side, it's the bulk of Australia. The southeastern corner though, that's where the showers and will be, and you see the western side of Tasmania seeing the highest totals. Not a huge amount, but 30 millimetres potentially coming through there as a result of this, which you'll see on Friday. So that's the beginning of the cold change coming to New Zealand, but it starts in Australia with particularly Victoria, ACT and Tasmania in that. And on the New Zealand side, the warm nor'wester starts to form, but around Fiordland and Southland, cloudier with a few spits of rain coming through for you, but high pressure to the north. Still a couple of showers in there, so it won't be completely dry, but it's mostly dry and mostly settled. This weekend it changes, although when you wake up on Saturday, it'll be mild with that nor'west wind pushing through. High pressure to the north here. The numbers just cut off a little bit, but that's a high pressure zone moving away from us. And here is that active cold front with severe winds potentially in the South Island, heavy rain, snow later on. And because it'll be warm giving way to cold, you get that risk of thunderstorms as well. And windy sou'westers across Melbourne and much of Tasmania as well, and those winds curve up as southerlies around the eastern coastline. But you do see that big high coming through, and as we go into Sunday, that high expands across Australia and doesn't quite reach New Zealand yet, but it is on the way, and we've got low pressure now forming at the top of the country. So it's an unsettled weekend for New Zealand, but the driest and mildest weather will be out in the east, which is good news, as those are the areas that are most saturated. Obviously, Waikato is also in there, and you do have some rain coming for Waikato, but it's not a huge amount. Actually, the way the low is forming, a lot of that rain's going to be to the north of the country, and you can see it here on Monday, a little different to yesterday's map. So this could still move around a little bit. But yesterday, that low was a lot further down over New Zealand. So what we're seeing now is that high from Australia starting to bulldoze the low away on Monday. Most of the rain's out at sea. A little bit does come in for East Cape and Gisborne and maybe Hawke's Bay, but it won't be very much at all, at least not based on this map. And then by Tuesday of next week, the low's pushed away. Chatham Islands have got a few southerlies, but most of the mainland has got high pressure in control. Just a little bit of wet weather down here in the southeastern corner of Australia. And that wet weather pushes into the lower southwestern corner of New Zealand by Wednesday, but there's still high pressure dominating around the North Island and it remains that way as we go to the end of the week as well, with high pressure all the way across over to the Indian Ocean. So that is what we were saying in our Climate Watch update would happen as we got towards the later part of August. But of course, this coming weekend is not settled, and we do have the risk of some severe weather. We'll be back again on Friday tomorrow with our next update. We'll see you then.